Hey, welcome back. This is what we got going on this time is a set of bookcases. Can you believe someone actually asked me to build them some for him? I'm just as shocked as you are. By someone, this is a family member that has quite a large record collection. So he wanted two bookshelves or storage cases to put them in. He couldn't find anything at the big box stores that he really likes. So he kindly, politely begged me to do him a solid. So came up with this for him, and I'll take you along in how we built it. All right, before we get started, I fired up good old SketchUp here and I modeled what I want to do. So here's the 3D model of the cabinet. I took the time, put all my measurements down, and I've got my cut layout for the 3 pieces of plywood. I mean, this stuff isn't cheap, so we want to use up, or make the most efficient use of our lumber here. So now let's get going to everyone's favorite thing, and that's breaking down 3/4 inch sheets of plywood. Okay, for making these cuts with a full sheet, I've got the fence on the left side of the blade, and that allows a whole sheet of plywood to be supported as I push it through. And I got the 2 rollers and that outfeed table back there just to, well, help me out. All right, there's my 4 pieces. Oh, I'm out of breath. That's hard to move around by yourself. Anyways, I did cut these a little wider than we needed to, so I'm gonna take off a 1/2 inch on either side to get them down to the final width. All right, to cut this to length, this is what I came up with. Normally, you could use a circular saw, but I want to make sure that this is bang on square. The miter saw is too small to cut this. So I've got to just clamp down to the crosscut sled. Another piece to support the out here. That's the same thickness. And we'll just ride this right along. Okay, we have our panel cut to width and length here, all 4 of them done. Now we got to talk about how we're going to attach our shelves. Now, there's a few ways we can do this. One of the ways is to use shelf pins. And the way that works, you drill a series of holes and you set your pins in and the shelf sits on top of it. These work okay. I'm not sure how heavy those vinyls are going to be because this is for this guy's vinyl collection. So 1, weight could be an issue, and 2, we already know the size. So I mean, I'm sure everyone here has shelves held up with these pins, and once they're set, we don't typically move them. So I'm gonna get away from using those. Next thing we can do is just take a screw and drive it right through the side here into the edge of our shelves. That's fine, it's super strong, especially with glue, but I don't wanna see the screw head popping up the side. So what I'm gonna do is add dados. We're gonna cut dados in the sides for the shelves to set in. I think that's going to give us the most strength, and because we have a determined size, we don't have to worry about him moving these shelves around. I'm not sure how heavy those vinyls are going to be. One thing's for sure though, it'll be record setting. Few more of those to go. Got a bit of an issue. All these pieces have a bit of a bow on them. So in order to push them through to get that dado, it could get a little dicey. So here's what I came up with. So here's the little setup that I got going on. I drilled a couple holes through my crosscut sled, fed a couple 1/4 bolts through there, and just attached these with wing nuts, and that's putting down lots of pressure so I can slide these through and make my cuts. Well, I'm really happy with how that little jig worked out. There is some tear out, and I told him, so with this cheaper plywood that's bound to happen, he said, don't worry, this thing is more about function than looks. Kind of like me, I guess. Okay, what you saw me do there was cut the groove for that back panel. And with that, all the cuts for our two side pieces are finished. I'm gonna give this a really light sanding. Last thing I wanna do is blow out that veneer, and then we'll cut out all our shelves. All right, all our shelves are done. That's the top and bottom of the cabinet. You just saw me cut these a 1/2 inch narrower. That's because what we're gonna do is use some of this maple to make end caps so that we hide that plywood grain here. So let's get cracking. All right, all we gotta do is glue these strips on. I'll be almost ready for assembly. Now, I'm hoping I can get away with not using the brad nailer, but some of these do have a pretty big bow on them. So we'll use tape where we can, and then if we need a brad or two, so be it. Okay, got all these edges flush trimmed, and now what we got to do is trim this up here. We did make it a little thicker, so I've got a flush trim bit set up in the router here, and that's going to ride along the plywood and cut this edge. But to do it like this, let's see if I can get this up here, that can get really tippy. So to get around that, I have this little jig set up. So just a couple pieces of plywood clamped on here, and that'll give my router lots of support for when we go do the cuts. Well, we got a cold one today. Minus 21, but 33 with the wind chill. Downright chilly. So what I did, I took 220 and I sanded all these shelves down, and the interior of the two sides plus the top and the bottom. A good hour and a half of sanding. Even went back and filled up those nail holes, just a little bit of glue, and then sanded some sawdust in there. Yeah, you can barely see them.
So the finish I'm using is just poly. I got it cut 40% with mineral spirits or some sort of alcohol. Pretty sure it's mineral spirits. That makes it so much easier just to wipe on. I mean, practically makes it dummy proof, which that's kind of the main reason I'm using it. We'll just get going and finishing up all these parts, and then we'll assemble it. You just need to do the inside panels here. Don't have to go into the dados at all. Okay, first coat's done on the shells, tops and bottoms, and the sides are all back there just hanging out. Another 3 coats and we'll get ready for the next steps. Well, this should be fun. Definitely go out without a hitch. I mean, no curse words, no problems. All right, there they are all put together. We're gonna cut the backs out now with some 1/4" ply. All right, the 2 back panels are cut out and finished. Let's slap them on. All right, the backs are on. Starting to look pretty good. Now let's trim the sucker up. We'll do something on the bottom, a couple of rails to go up top, and then a cap here for now. Okay, whipped up this template real quick, and we're gonna cut a piece of maple that's gonna go along the front. Let's see if we can do this. We'll just cut it out so it looks something like that. That truck of maple all milled up. My template, we're gonna put on here, trace it out, and then we'll take it to the bandsaw and cut just to the outside of the line so we can stick it back on and use a flush trim bit to cut right along that pattern. So that was fun. Right, finished cutting those out, sanding them. Now we're just gonna stick them on with a couple brads and some glue. All right, I just finished cutting out all these, I say all, there's 4 of them. I cut them out, and these are the caps for the sides for glue, and tack these down.
All right, after some sanding, a few coats of that oil, these are done. And you know what? I don't think they turned out half bad. I already sent him a few pictures. He likes the way they look, so hey, that's a win in my books. Thanks a lot for joining me on that plywood cutting journey, and I hope you liked it, and we'll see you again.